All right, so once again, we're doing the Christmas time Arctic outbreak briefing for the Rio Grande Valley. I want to mention a couple of things here. What's changed? We have issued warnings now, not watches. We actually have both freeze and hard freeze warnings up that just went out a few moments ago, and a gale warning for the coast, as well as a wind chill warning for those low feels-like temperatures that we've been advertising for the last few days. So just like yesterday, we have the weather pattern, if you will, the fronts and low pressure, high pressure systems here on the map above. And you can see that right around sunset, that Arctic front is surging across South Texas and will be through here before you know it, soon after sunset on Thursday. So that very strong cold front will drop those temperatures as we mentioned yesterday. We are pretty confident that high temperatures tomorrow on the right will be well into the 70s across the valley. But by daybreak, the feels-like temperatures will range from 8 to 18 across the region. That's literally a 15 to 18-hour period that we're dropping 60 to 65 degrees. And these cold temperatures, along with the gusty winds, will be felt through Friday, with the cold continuing through Christmas Eve and even into Christmas Day morning. So that is our main story. So let's go behind the numbers. The sharp change, as mentioned, feels like temperatures crashing from the mid-70s at 2 o'clock tomorrow down to 8 to 18 degrees at daybreak or wake-up time on Friday morning. The timing of the onset of the cold blast, we have some good ideas on that now. Around 6 o'clock from Hebbronville to Sarita as early as 4 to 5 p.m. Now, this is the front itself with the cold air rapidly surging in behind it. The front arrives in the Rio Grande Valley between 8 and 9 p.m. tomorrow night, but could be as early as 7 p.m. As far as the freezing temperatures, this is not the wind chill, but the actual temperatures should arrive between 3 and 4 a.m. in Hebbronville to Sarita and 5 to 6 a.m. just before daybreak in the Rio Grande Valley. And those low, dangerous wind chills, we're going to use 25 degrees as a marker here. Below 25 at around midnight from Hebbronville to Sarita and 3 a.m. in the Rio Grande Valley. So you can see between 3 p.m. and 3 a.m., 12 hours, we're going to see the wind chill crash, or the feels-like temperature crash from the mid-70s to 25. So a 50-degree change in just 12 hours. And as mentioned above, up to 65-degree change in 18 hours. So hard freezes. December 23rd, we're looking at temperatures below 28 degrees for all but the lower valley for a few hours, mainly from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., or at or below 32 until noon in most areas. So it's going to take a while for temperatures to get above freezing on Friday. On the 24th, Christmas Eve day, temperatures will be below 28 for all but the lower valley for 6 to 9 hours, starting as early as just after midnight and continuing through 9 a.m. So we have a longer period of sub-freezing temperatures, including hard freeze temperatures, on Christmas Eve morning. As far as wind, no changes from yesterday at this time. Increasing winds 25 to 35 with gusts 40 plus miles per hour soon after sunset Thursday, continuing for several hours and all night along and toward the coast. Now, we took the 50 plus mile per hour away from the entire area, but we do think that we'll see 50 plus mile per hour along and east of Interstate 69E in Cameron and Willacy County for a few hours after the front goes by Thursday evening. So be aware of that. Gale force sustained winds 40 mile per hour with gusts between 50 and 50 miles per hour Thursday evening through Friday afternoon. No changes there for the Gulf. And we want to add one more thing here that we didn't have yesterday. This is an other category for an increasing chances for a light sleet event or perhaps light icing, meaning freezing rain, east of Interstate 69E, once again, Cameron and Willacy County, and that includes the urban corridor towards the coast, Friday night through Saturday morning. Now, impacts are highly uncertain at this time. We're just starting to see model trends showing this potential, starting yesterday afternoon and a little bit more today. And by tomorrow, we should have a really good idea of what we expect this way. So something to be in the back of your mind as another add-on. But again, this is not affecting the mid and upper valleys. So your McAllen metro area up through Brooks County over to Hebbronville to Rio Grande City, no problem there whatsoever. It's really the eastern half of Cameron and Willacy County that we're most concerned about. So our impacts, no change from yesterday. Hypothermia is a big issue. Livestock and pets could be killed if not provided relatively warm locations. We mentioned this effective temperature, meaning the wet bulb, how cold it could actually get when evaporation is considered in things like moisture-laden fruit, such as oranges. We're still looking at upper teens to lower 20s from pre-dawn Friday all the way through late morning Christmas Eve, and that could freeze the fruit. And those are those growing areas. We'll show those shortly. And once again, the sea and bay water will plunge to or below 50 between midday and sunset Friday, putting the sea turtles at risk. Exposed pipes, especially with water in them, could burst. We'll have some recommendations on that shortly. As far as winds, same deal as yesterday. Gusts above 35 miles per hour can blow lightweight objects around. Frequent gusts 40+ miles per hour could cause additional damage to poorly fastened roofs and poorly anchored objects, including buildings. The combination of the cold temperatures and strong winds may lead to scattered to numerous power outages starting late Thursday evening and continuing through Christmas Day morning, with the greatest threat for widespread outages along and east of Interstate 69E. So your timeline, no changes from yesterday. We really haven't done anything to the wording here. It's the same ideal that we're looking at Thursday night, Friday morning, Friday afternoon, and Friday night as your high to extreme impact. And that will continue at a high impact into a Saturday morning, perhaps afternoon in some locations, and maybe even into Sunday morning, as some of the latest data are showing this cold air hanging around a bit longer. Not as cold as it will be the next couple of days, Friday and Saturday, but Sunday looks pretty chilly too, especially near the coast. So we'll update that when we get into tomorrow's briefing. Once again, there's your 60 to 65 degree feels like temperature drop in just 18 hours. This is showing the high temperature for Thursday afternoon tomorrow. With the humidity being moderate, the feels like temperature will be identical to the actual air temperatures. That's what you're seeing here. And there's your wind chill once again. Sarita going from 73 to 8, which is exactly 65 degrees. And it just keeps on going through Saturday morning. The feels like temperature once again between 10 and 18. This 26 at Port Isabel and South Padre could be dependent on the wind direction. The wind direction is from the northwest. It will be just as cold here, if not colder, than in some locations because the winds will be stronger. So be on the lookout for this number to change, possibly drop into the teens here as well, maybe all the way down to the island. And it won't get much better during the daytime. We saw this yesterday, no change today, only rising to 25 to 30 on Friday afternoon and only rising to 30 to 35 degrees on Saturday afternoon in terms of the feels like temperature. So it's just going to be downright cold out there. As far as the probability of a hard freeze, which is very impactful on crops that we have, as well as tender vegetation, no real changes here. Slightly lower values, and I do mean slightly lower values across the entire region, particularly Christmas morning. We have a much lower probability of a hard freeze in the lower and mid valley, but still plenty of decent probabilities here Friday and Saturday. Right now we have a regular freeze warning for 28 to 32 across Hidalgo, Willacy, Cameron, and Star, the Rio Grande Valley counties. But notice that northern Hidalgo and Willacy have these highest probabilities, and it's very possible that we may upgrade to a hard freeze warning in these locations from Star, northern Hidalgo, and Willacy in time. So the effective temperature, though, is the wet bulb temperature, and that can create hard freeze-like conditions even when the actual temperatures are at or above 28. So just because there's only a freeze warning in Hidalgo County in this red area doesn't mean the impacts could be worse. So effective temperatures could bottom out between the upper teens and lower 20s in this red shaded area. And the potential times for the hard freeze and lowest effective temperatures are Friday morning from 4 a.m. to noon, Saturday from midnight to 9 a.m., and this will heavily damage exposed, unprotected, sensitive crops and plants. So we mentioned this yesterday. Again, these probabilities are not quite as low as they were yesterday, but still low enough to be really concerned. And the highest hard freeze chances, once again, 9 and 10 across the ranch country here of Zapata, Jim Hogg, Brooks, and Kennedy County, but also into northern Star, northern Hidalgo, and parts of Willacy County. And that's an effective temperature of 15 to 20 during the same time frames above. We do have some crop here in the eastern part of northern Hidalgo as well as Willacy that would be at risk here. But our big concern is the unprotected livestock, where this could be deadly to them because of the sharp change in temperature and the effective temperature going all the way down to the upper teens to lower 20s, on top of wind chill, which can definitely be felt by livestock as it can be by human beings. So here's your outlook for the minimum temperature forecast through the 25th. Basically the same as yesterday. Your temperatures in the mid-20s or lower from northern Hidalgo, northern Star, all the way across ranch country, both Friday and Saturday. And then Christmas morning, still a freeze across these areas. Now notice there's a sharp rise in temperature as you get near the coast on Friday and Saturday morning. On Friday morning, we'll see how it goes with the rapid drop in temperature and how far down it can get in places like Harlingen or Brownsville. But Saturday morning, we are looking at the potential for overcast skies, which could keep the ground insulated, and the temperatures may only fall a few degrees from their highs on Friday on Saturday morning versus more of a drop as you get farther west where the skies are clearer or the cloud level is much higher. So here we go again, hard freezes across the plains and the brush and ranch country each day. Freezes likely elsewhere Friday and Saturday, not quite as cold Christmas morning. Once again, this does not include the impact of the effective temperature, which will be 5 to 7 degrees lower than shown here, mainly west of Interstate 69E and US 77. And that includes a whole lot of our crop and our ranch country will be impacted. So you might have asked, well, what's the duration of the freeze and the hard freeze? So we put this together to help our neighbors to the north as well as ourselves here in the valley. And you can see that Friday night is the longest duration of freezing temperatures, up to 20 hours in Hebronville. And then Saturday night, we're not expecting a freeze in the lower valley, but as you get farther north and west, up to 14 hours in Hebronville. So this is Saturday night, Sunday morning, Friday night, Saturday morning, and you say Thursday night, Friday morning. Again, temperatures Friday morning may not get above freezing until noon in most areas. If you want to look at the hard freeze comparison, we have that as well. As you get farther north, Edinburgh up to 5 hours on Friday morning, and then Hebronville up to 14 hours on Saturday morning, and still up to 8 hours on Sunday morning, which is Christmas Day. So quite a long duration of freeze and hard freeze right on through the entire weekend. And these numbers are not the highest on record by any stretch. We had longer durations in the February 2021 freeze known as Uri, but they're still pretty impressive considering we're coming out of a very warm day expected for this time of year on Thursday. So here's your high temperature forecast, mid to upper 30s on Friday. Again, down from the mid 70s on Thursday. That's a 40-degree difference in actual temperatures between Thursday and Friday. And then Saturday, not much different, maybe a smidge warmer towards the coast. It'll probably be identically cold with the cloud cover holding in there on Saturday afternoon. And Sunday afternoon, Christmas Day, we do see some warm up. There'll be a bit more sun. The air mass begins to modify, but it's a slow modification. We're still talking 25 degrees, 20 to 25 degrees below average on Christmas Day. And again, 35 to 40 degrees below average across the region on Christmas Eve Day. So like we said yesterday, those commercials and those movies that show what Christmas looks like across the country, it's actually going to feel like that here in the valley. We have the life-threatening boating and dangerous shipping weather to continue. These wind speeds are the same. These are 55-mile-per-hour gust potential, particularly late Thursday night into early Friday morning. But notice the waves here. The height of the seas will be perhaps 25 feet. That's a guaranteed Beaufort Scale 8 sea state, possibly Beaufort Scale 9 sea state. When you have 9, you have obviously the high waves, but even more foam and white. And also you'll see a lot of spray that will overtop the decks of larger shipping and military vessels. So obviously small craft should not be going out at all from sunset Thursday night all the way through Christmas Day. Just wait until next week when the temperature's warm and the seas and agitation calms down. It's just not worth going out there. So we want to add one more slide here about coastal issues and the beach. If you go out there now or take a look at the webcams, you'll see that the water is encroaching on the dune line and has been doing that for quite a while now, as our observed tides have been well above predicted, in some cases nearly 2 feet above predicted, as you can see here. Well, that's not going to change, not only tomorrow before the front, but even after the front. There's quite a bit of wave energy going to pound towards the coastline. So in addition to the very high and rough surf, that water is going to make its way up the beach, probably near or even into the dunes at times. One thing we want to note here is that State Highway 4 will be flooded by overwash from the South Bay area from late Thursday night through at least early Saturday, especially at high tide. So if you're planning to head out towards SpaceX or Boca Chica Beach, you're not going to be able to get there come late Thursday night. So once again, comparing with the 1983 and 89 freezes, this will be the coldest Christmas time in the Rio Grande Valley since then. Now, you all might remember the white Christmas of December 2004, and sure enough, Christmas Eve was very cold. Christmas Eve night, it snowed, and then Christmas Day, it got back to 50, and the day after into the 60s. So we're looking at a more prolonged period of cold temperatures and the nighttime lows on multiple days across the valley, not just here at Brownsville, but across the valley in the 20s for at least 2 days in a row. And that's what makes this more akin to 1989, though not quite as cold as those 80s freezes, but it's just something to throw in the memory bank and how to think about your preparedness. So the key recommendations, once again, people, plants, and pipes should be prepared and winterized. And by the way, this is before sunset tomorrow. Before sunset tomorrow. I can't repeat that enough. So vehicles should be checked for battery and other cold critical items and replaced or repaired if needed. Crop growers and ranchers should also have protective actions completed for the hard freezes. Again, all of this before sunset tomorrow. Sea turtle rescue volunteers ready to act as soon as the winds and waves recede, beginning Christmas Eve afternoon, but really not until Christmas Day, to be honest with you, especially down there on the coast. And then scattered to locally numerous power outages are likely, especially along and east of Highway 69C in Cameron and Willacy County. So anticipate this and ready your homes, winterize your homes to be set for the cold weather. So really quick, the space heater safety tips, these will be on the slide deck, which will be posted to our webpage soon after this webinar is over. This is on our webpage right now. This is a great infographic to help you prepare everything you need to take care of by sunset tomorrow. I can't repeat that enough, and I'll just keep saying it. Dressing for cold weather, well, we're looking at extreme cold for the valley purposes, and so that means a lot of layers. Wear a hat, wear a glove, even add a mask. It certainly will be needed in that strong wind Friday, all the way through Christmas Day morning. A little bit better Christmas Day afternoon, going back towards the cold to the chilly side of things, but we're going to need those jackets, sweaters, and coats for quite a while. Beware of warning signs of hypothermia. If you have elderly family, if you have other contacts that may not have the heating they need, get them to a warming center, get them to your home, find a way to provide them multiple layers to at least keep warm through the worst of this cold outbreak. Don't forget your pets. We're looking at the temperatures and the wind chill really crashing Friday morning and continuing right through Christmas Eve. And you can find more information, again, on all of this on our website at weather.gov/RGV. We mentioned sea turtles again, a mass cold stunning event expected on the entire Texas coastline, starting as early as Friday and going all the way through the 26th, which is next Monday, but probably going a day or two longer until we start seeing the rise in temperatures out there. So again, poor water conditions may preclude those rescues until at least Christmas Day, if not longer. And we didn't mention Pelicans earlier, but we are concerned about the strong north winds getting the Pelicans hung up on their route that goes up the ship channel, then turns north at the Gaiman Bridge in South Bay area and Bahia Grande, and then they roost farther up Bahia Grande. But sometimes they run into a barrier, which is the Highway 48, and that could drive them into the ground. And we really don't want that to happen. So Thursday night through Saturday is our big concern, really December 23rd through 24th, and even as early as December 22nd. So we're going to have another webinar tomorrow based on popular demand. We'll do it same bat time, same bat channel at 2 p.m. And then we'll continue emails through at least Christmas Eve. If y'all would like a webinar on December 23rd, we could do that as well. But by then, we'll be in the game in the response phase, getting closer to recovery. So we're looking at more of an email approach after tomorrow. So with that, I will shut down the recording so we can have